A little glimmer of light, perhaps, for commuters.
Well, yes. I mean, don't get overexcited. We are still seeing the close down of much of the rail network overnight tonight for another 2 days of strike action. Now, crucially, that is being taken, as you say, by Network Rail. They are by the RMT. They are in dispute with both Network Rail, which is what this vote is about, and also with the 14 train operators. Now, what's interesting about this Network Rail dispute is that it's separate from the train operators. You might remember that on the 4th of December, we were reaching crucial talks at the end of the weekend. And suddenly you had the train operators saying, right, here's a 4% plus 4% pay rise, and you're going to have to accept more driver controlling the doors. But at the same time, Network Rail, which runs the infrastructure, and it's actually a separate dispute, said, look, we're going to give you 5% for this year, 5% for next year. We're going to give you all kinds of bonuses to do with the opportunity to earn some, get discounted trips for your family. And as a result of that, it's our best possible deal. Now, we've already seen members of the Unite union accept that deal from Network Rail. We've just had this vote. Now, some people are using the term overwhelming. I would say emphatic. The figures I've got are that it was 85% voted yes on a turnout of 70%, but that's still pretty strong. Interestingly, Andrew Haynes, the chief executive of Network Rail, has been saying that the outliers in this dispute are now the RMT union, the main rail union, that it is a good offer relative to what everything else is happening in the country, and that people should accept it's not going to get any better. But meanwhile, of course, the dispute with the 14 train operators goes on, and anybody who's planning to catch a train later on this evening, well, do check in advance. We will have thousands of trains running on Friday and Saturday, but those are not going to be operating on about half the country. And of course, as normal, I'm sorry to say, when these strikes take place, it's Wales and Scotland where travellers will suffer the most.
Yeah, and whatever normal means, having been struggling with Thameslink today when supposedly the strike was over. However, let's just reflect on that issue of the RMT, of course, because it's not just about pay with them. The TSSA and Unite, of course, being in signal boxes and electronic control centres and so on. The RMT staff are on the trains, and it's not just pay, it's the whole issue of driver-only operation, about manning and about what happens on weekends and so on.
Yes, and because it's two separate disputes, train operators and the infrastructure providers, it does get very, very cloudy. And both sides, both the government and the union, are happy sometimes to kind of elide the two, but they are very separate. And it might be that if we get a settlement, and bear in mind that we had a vote of 64% of RMT members rejecting this offer, but that was after their union rep said, reject this offer. It might be that we see a bit of movement there. If Network Rail can give a little bit more, it might well be that we get the RMT saying, OK, we'll have a recommendation to accept. That will improve things hugely, particularly for those rail travellers in Wales and Scotland, where Transport Wales, ScotRail, don't have any dispute with the RMT. They've settled all those rows, and it's just the fact that Network Rail does all the signalling, and that's why it wipes out 90% of trains in those countries.